Hello and welcome to Mile High Reefers. I'm Scott Anderson, and I'm just getting up after working 3 night shifts. I have a ton of work I need to do. You know what? Screw it. Let's geek out over the fish tank. Full tank overview coming your way. Here's the full tank overview, and I think it's really looking great. It's taken me about 8-9 months, a big pile of cash, a ton of hard work, and an incredibly understanding wife to get my tank to this point. And let's face it, it's also taken me 2 years of a 90-gallon tank, which I pulled livestock out of and really cut my teeth on to get here. So it's been a long journey, and it's nowhere near over yet. But it is really getting close to the tank that I've always wanted. Now the fish are doing really well. I've got a blue tang, a purple tang, and a yellow tang living together in harmony, and they have no ick issues. That issue appears to be completely sorted, and that makes me happy. The only issue I have had with fish is I did lose my red scooter blenny, and that's the fish that I got from a friend at work who was shutting down his tank, and for whatever reason he just disappeared one day. But those are actually a dragonet, which is the same species of a mandarin, and these guys are just as difficult to take care of as a mandarin in that they really only feed on copiopods. So that was sad, but other than that, everything's doing really good. And since the last video, I've actually added 2 more fish. And let's check those guys out now. Here's the Royal Grama. And this is a really pretty fish. It's purple and yellow, and it looks about like a dotty back, except with the Royal Grama, you don't get the aggression issues normally that you would get out of a dotty back. Now this fish has only been in the tank for 2 weeks, but he seems really friendly, and so far has been really easy to take care of. I've also gotten this tail spot blenny, and these are really cool fish. Unfortunately, when I went to make the video, he decided he should hide in the shade, but these guys are pretty active. They swim around, they'll hop up on a coral or a rock, hang out, and then go somewhere else, and they're just got a ton of personality, and they're great to watch in the tank. The clownfish that I thought were perculas have really lightened up a lot. They're still darker than my other ocellaris, but they're not the almost black and orange pattern that they had when I first got them. So not actually sure if these guys are perculas or ocellaris at this point. Starting with the softies, this had explosive growth. I mean, this thing's getting incredibly big. Right now it's up against the clam, and you can see I've got my dead coral skeletons down here. These are the acras I got from Live Aquaria. That one died, and you kind of see the other one behind the Durasa over there. It died also. Those are coming out after this video, but I decided, since the tank was looking so great, to make my video first and then start re-aquascaping and stuff. But as you can see, this whole softie side is really cool. Having great luck with softies in this tank. This Singulaira leather just grows incredibly fast. I don't know what I'm going to do if it continues to grow at the same pace it has. I'm going to have to start fragging. And then I've got another little one down here. This guy's really cool because it's this bicolor thing that's going on. You can see part of it's kind of this brownish red like the other Singulaira, but then in back it's kind of this pale green color. So I'm interested to find out if it's actually going to hold that coloration or if it's all going to turn that kind of reddish brown. Back here, my Colt coral, it's just doing really well and continues to grow fast. I went to Animal Attractions on my birthday and bought another coral. Actually, I bought 2 corals from it, and they completely hooked me up. I got this Hydnophora, and this is a really cool Hydnophora. It's got a really bright green base, and then it's got these chocolate brown polyps on it. It's just really cool. And then it worked out that there's
it's this weird shape. It almost looks like it kind of grew on a piece of egg crate and then it branched off, which pretty much everywhere I put it in the tank, it actually looked pretty bad. I didn't much like that. But there was this kind of hole in the bottom of it where it was attached to something. And I found that spot on that ledge that fit right in that hole. So I just super glued it on, and I think it's actually a really cool look. I mean, it just kind of looks like it grew on there. So I'm really happy with the way that looks. And then the Monties continue to grow. I've got the kind of pinkish brown Digi growing in, and I've got the orange plating growing together, and it's all just kind of starting to grow into one big crazy piece. The other thing I did that I thought was really cool is right up on top of that, I glued that frog spawn on there. So it's going to be this Monty, these two different Monty species growing into each other, one plating, one branching, and then there's going to be this frog spawn coming out of the top, and I think it's a pretty neat look. In my last video, I was struggling with this toadstool leather, and that was because my yellow clown goby kept sitting in it, and he still sits in it some, but I've added a bunch more corals that he likes. I changed the position of this thing several times, and I've kind of found a position that the coral looks great, it's really happy in it, and the clown goby's found enough other corals that it likes that it kind of leaves the leather alone enough that it'll open up. So it's doing great. Behind that is that kind of greenish brown Monty. Last time you saw it, it was broken where I had glued it back together, and now it's really starting to regrow. You can't see the glue line anymore, but you can just kind of see where the two layers are overgrowing each other. It's changing colors, and it's cool the way it's changing colors. On the cup, it may be hard to see in the video, but on the cup where it shadows itself, it's getting this kind of dark, almost army green to it. And then the polyps on this thing are this pink color. And then the rest of it is kind of this more olive green color, or brownish olive green color with pink polyps. And it's actually turning out to be a really cool coral. Behind that is this orange Monty. It's more brown than orange now, but this thing bleached out to the point where I almost died. When I first got it, I put it right under the lights. I have good luck with that with Monties. You just bring them home, throw them under lights, and they're so tolerant of it. I've never had a problem, but this guy bleached out, and I've put him in several positions, and it's actually growing. It's got great polyp extension, and it's actually turning orange again, which is pretty cool. My Duncan's colonies, I've moved around a little bit. I had to move everything around to make more room for coral. The big one's loving that spot. I had it into place. It had too much water flow, too much light for it. And the lower one's been doing really good. Not sure what its problem is today, but I'm not worried about him one little bit. My frog spawn, and actually this whole section of tank has one minor issue, and that's that stupid Condylactis anemone. That is a really beautiful coral, but that damn thing will not settle in. It runs around that rock. It just goes around in a big circle and stings the hell out of everything. Fortunately, everything's somewhat tolerant of it. The side of that bird's nest is kind of stung to crap, but it's big enough and growing off far enough that it's not going to hurt the whole colony of it. But it's just really annoying. He won't settle in, and I can't aquascape around him. But, you know, that's how anemones go. And then some of the new corals. The potato chip coral I've bought, this actually came off of a frag at Animal Attractions, my LFS. They've got this big, giant display tank in there. It's as big as my 210, but a bow front. And he's got these massive colonies of potato chip coral in there. Thing's probably 1.5 feet long and probably 1.5 feet wide. Thing's huge. And when I went in, I asked him if he'd harvest me some, and he happily did. He pulled a couple pieces off and sold them to me at a very reasonable price. Those guys just hook me up every time. And speaking of Animal Attractions hooking me up, this is the other piece I bought on my birthday. This is a giant plating Monty, some sort of Monty cap or something. That thing is about 8 inches across, 8 inches in diameter, every way you can think about it, and another 8 inches tall. That thing is massive. What do you think a coral like that costs? When I asked the guy, I was expecting a number like $200 at least. Nope. For me, on my birthday, 80 bucks. I was thrilled. Those guys are awesome. And then here's the pink bird's nest. And I'm not going to be able to get in close enough for you to see the coolest thing about this coral. This is the one that I got from Live Aquaria after all the crap I went through with them just sending me crap. Well, this coral is the right size, and it's a really nice pink. I'm not sure how well it's going to come out in the video, but you can see on the tips as it grows out, the polyps are actually green. So if you look at all those little tips that leached out, that's actually the coral growing, and all of that white stuff is covered with green polyps. Really neat. And then I've kind of just got some random stuff here. I'm just using this as a placeholder till I get the last couple corals to fill this in. Behind my urchin is the acro I got from Live Aquaria. It's doing okay. It's still brown, but it's alive, which is more than I could say for the other two. I used to have 2 of these alien eye chalices, and when I was removing everything around, I knocked one off. Figured I'd try in a different spot, and it died almost immediately. The flesh just fell off of it. It sucked. So here's the right top of the tank, and it's taken me many iterations of aquascaping this, and I hate to do it because at the time you do it, you bug a coral, and half the time you break something or kill something. But I'm really happy with the way this turns out. It's a really nice mix of LPS, SPS, and it really works. I've got flow going through there because I've got the big hammer in the back and the little pink guy up front and the frog spawn kind of hanging out in the back where you can just kind of see a nice background of these greenish purple polyps. And then I've got this big green brain up on the top corner, which is just unbelievable to me because it loves the light, where every other brain I've had will just die from the light, and it looks amazing. And then I've got that Monty kind of reaching out over everything growing, and it looks great to me. The one thing about that big branching Monty is when I bought it, it was this burnt orange color, and now it's pink. But that's kind of how it works when you buy coral. You go buy it in one color, especially SPS corals, and you get it home, and in a week or two, it's a different color. So my brains are actually doing better. I've got them down here in low light. In fact, they're kind of hanging out under this ledge here, and they kind of get indirect lighting at best. And this maze brain in the middle, it gets just small parts of direct light. And you know what, if you watch some of my older videos, I thought these were going to die. When I first set this 210 tank up, this green fabia down here, it just fell apart. I mean, it was receding at an incredible rate, and I thought it was going to die. But it's actually recovering the skeleton. So all of that flesh you see is actually slowly growing back over its skeleton. So it'll be interesting to see how much of that it'll actually recover. I'm actually hopeful that it'll recover fully. And then the exact same thing's going on with this purple worm brain. This purple worm brain is actually one of the corals I've always really wanted, and when this happened to it, I was really sad about it. But it's slowly recovering. So I'm hopeful that one of these days I'm going to have a really nice big purple worm brain. And the pink pineapple brain is actually doing the worst of them. This guy spent more time in highlight than any of the others, and it paid the price for it. But it's down here in a bit more shaded area, and hopefully it'll do better. But it hasn't recovered as well as the other two. So here's a couple of my more unhappy coral. This devil's hand leather just won't get happy, and I don't know if it's because there's not enough light there, flow, or what is annoying it, but it's grown on right there, and it's pretty much impossible to move without getting a knife out and cutting it off that spot. This green tubriana I just put here, this is one of those corals that was in a frag tank at the LFS. It was really cheap, and it was just an impulse buy. I had to have it. When I brought him home, all I had for him was a really bright spot for him. Stuck him there, and of course he bleached out. So I moved him to another slightly less bright spot, and it just never got better. So it's down here in a nice shady spot where it actually looks really good, and hopefully it'll recover well. This pagoda continues to recede. You can see the base where it's just dying off all the way up, but it's still got great polyp extension, so it still may be okay. Now, the gold hammer. It is doing amazing as usual. This guy, the purple hammer, which was open earlier, is really weird. And I went ahead and videoed this before I did the work I have to do. But if you look at this stalk, it's just slowly eroding. And it's something I've never seen before. It was kind of a thin piece anyways, but it's been slowly eroding. And then that big kind of cutout section in the middle there, that literally happened overnight. I came home and that was just gone. So not sure what's going on with that, but after I shoot this video, I will be breaking that off and then reattaching the top bit somewhere else. Probably in the same general area, just of course it won't be nearly as high up. So you just saw the tubriana and pagoda, and they're very similar to this green cup coral. Only difference is this one's thriving. It came in, put it right there, never moved it. Highlight, water flow. Apparently this spot is where it wants to be. It is thriving there. My gorg continues to grow at a really quick pace. The bubble coral right below him is just stellar. It's just thriving there. That lighting, that current is exactly where it wants to be. Behind him are those green star polyps that I rescued from that tank that's being broken down. They've colored up, they've been growing, and behind him is another Singularia leather that I just stuck there. And of course, my giant clam. This thing is amazing. I love it. I've had this thing 2.5 years now. It started off as a little 2-inch piece, and now the thing is enormous. So I'm going to leave you with the full tank overview, and I think this tank's really coming along. So thanks for watching this episode of Mile High Reefers. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I strongly recommend you do. And if you like it, feel free to hit that thumbs up button. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you on the next one.